The courthouse smelled like old paper and broken promises. I sat on the wooden bench outside courtroom 3B, my fingers trembling as they traced the edges of the divorce papers for the 100th time. The hallway echoed with footsteps. Lawyers in expensive shoes, couples avoiding eye contact, lives unraveling in triplicate. Mine was just another file in the stack. Another marriage dissolved before it ever really began. Sign here, initial here, date here. Marcus hadn't even bothered to show up. 3 years of marriage, and he couldn't spare an hour to watch it officially end. His lawyer, a sharp-faced woman with a designer handbag, had handed me the papers with barely concealed impatience. "Mr. Chen is occupied with important business matters," she'd said, as if I didn't know exactly what that meant, as if I hadn't spent countless nights alone while he worked late with her. I pressed my palm against my stomach. Still flat. Still hiding the secret I'd discovered just 48 hours ago. 2 pink lines that changed everything and nothing all at once. The pregnancy test was buried at the bottom of my purse, wrapped in tissues like contraband. I hadn't told anyone. Couldn't tell anyone. Not when Marcus had made it crystal clear he wanted out. Wanted her. Wanted the life I could never give him. A baby would just be another chain. Another obligation he'd resent. Better to sign. Better to disappear. Better to raise this child alone than watch the father wish we didn't exist. "Ms. Rivers?" The bailiff's voice cut through my thoughts. "They're ready for you." I stood on shaking legs, the papers clutched against my chest like a shield. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered, once, twice, casting strange shadows across the marble floor. Somewhere down the hall, a door slammed. A man's voice, low and commanding, spoke in rapid Italian. I caught fragments. Traditore, pagherà. Traitor. Payment. I didn't speak Italian, but I'd heard enough from the old woman who ran the cafe where I worked. Mrs. Antonelli loved her Sopranos reruns and her whispered gossip about the families that supposedly ran the city's underbelly. The courtroom door opened. The judge's clerk beckoned me inside. I took 3 steps forward and collided with someone, not someone. A wall. A wall of expensive fabric and cold authority that smelled like sandalwood and gunpowder, though later I'd convince myself I imagined that last part. "I'm so sorry." I stumbled backward, the divorce papers scattering across the floor like autumn leaves. "I wasn't looking, Attenta." The word was soft, dangerous. A warning wrapped in silk. I looked up and up and up into the darkest eyes I'd ever seen. Black coffee. Midnight. The moment before a storm breaks. He was beautiful in the way poisonous things are beautiful. Sharp cheekbones, olive skin, black hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. His suit probably cost more than my yearly rent. Charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, with a subtle sheen that screamed Italian craftsmanship. A silver watch caught the light at his wrist. Expensive, understated, deadly. But it was his stillness that terrified me most. He didn't move like other people, didn't fidget or shift weight, or do any of the 1,000 small movements that make someone human. He simply was, like a predator deciding whether you're worth the hunt. 2 men flanked him, mountains in black suits with earpieces and the kind of alertness that comes from military training or worse. One had his hand inside his jacket, the other was already scanning the hallway, cataloging exits, threats, witnesses. "The papers," the man said, his accent turning the words into something musical and menacing all at once. His gaze dropped to the scattered documents at our feet, and I saw his expression shift. Just a fraction, just enough to notice. "You are divorcing." It wasn't a question. Yes, I dropped to my knees, desperately gathering the papers, not wanting him to see, not wanting anyone to see the proof of my failure written in legal jargon and my husband's careless signature. "I'm sorry. I should have been watching where His hand appeared in my field of vision. Long fingers, a scar across the knuckles, a signet ring with a crest I didn't recognize. "Let me." It was a command dressed as courtesy. He knelt, this man who clearly never knelt for anyone, and began collecting the papers with an efficiency that suggested he'd handled plenty of documents before. Legal ones, binding ones. The kind signed in blood, Our fingers brushed as we both reached for the same page. Lightning. Thunder. Every cliché I'd ever rolled my eyes at in romance novels, except it wasn't romance. It was recognition. The kind that happens when a mouse realizes it's in the presence of a cat. Alessia Rivers, he read from the document, his accent caressing each syllable. And Marcus Chen. Something flickered across his face. Recognition? Anger? It was gone before I could identify it. Your husband has interesting business associates. Ice flooded my veins. I don't know anything about his business. Bean, he stood, offering me the papers with one hand while the other made a subtle gesture to his guards. They melted back 3 steps, close enough to intervene, far enough to offer the illusion of privacy. Better that you don't, Piccola. Better that you sign these papers and forget Marcus Chen ever existed. The way he said my husband's name, soon-to-be ex-husband, made it sound like a curse. I clutched the papers to my chest, very aware of how close he stood, how his presence seemed to fill the hallway, drawing oxygen from the air. The judge is waiting. Is he? Not a question. A statement of utter disinterest in judges or courts or any authority that wasn't him. Behind him, one of his guards murmured something urgent in Italian. The man, I still didn't know his name, wasn't sure I wanted to, dismissed it with a flick of his fingers. You work? He asked me. What? For employment. You work somewhere. My mouth felt dry. Cafe Antonelli, on 5th and Morrison. I'm a waitress. Why was I telling him this? Why did it feel like signing a different kind of contract? His lips curved, not quite a smile, more like a wolf showing teeth. Antonelli. See, I know this place. Mrs. Antonelli makes excellent cannoli. He reached into his jacket, both guards tensed, hands moving to concealed weapons, and withdrew a business card. Thick cardstock. Embossed lettering I couldn't read in the dim hallway light. If you need anything, Ms. Rivers. Anything at all. He pressed it into my palm, his fingers lingering just a second too long. Call this number. I don't understand. Why would I? Your husband made enemies, Piccola. His eyes held mine, and I saw something there that might have been pity if men like him were capable of such soft emotions. Those enemies may not know you're divorcing, may not care. A phone number. Capisce? I understood. God help me, I understood. He was telling me I was in danger. That Marcus's business matters had painted a target on anyone associated with him, including his soon-to-be ex-wife. Ms. Rivers? The bailiff appeared in the courtroom doorway, impatient now. The judge really is waiting. When I looked back, the man was already walking away, his guards falling into formation around him like satellites orbiting a dark sun. His footsteps echoed down the marble hallway, measured, unhurried, absolutely certain of his place in the world. I stared at the business card, no name, just a phone number in embossed silver, and beneath it, a symbol, a crowned lion holding a sword. My hands were shaking as I walked into the courtroom. The judge droned through the formalities, irreconcilable differences, division of assets, final decree to be issued in 30 days. I signed where indicated, initialed, dated. Became Alessia Rivers again, no hyphen, no Chen, no connection to a man I'd loved and a marriage I'd failed. The whole thing took 12 minutes. I walked out a free woman carrying a secret I couldn't tell, and a business card from a man whose name I didn't know, but whose eyes would haunt me for days. The pregnancy test was still in my purse. The divorce papers were in my bag. And somewhere in this city, Marcus Chen was making the kind of enemies who sent men in expensive suits to courthouse hallways. I should have thrown away the business card. I should have forgotten those midnight eyes and that sandalwood scent. I should have known that some encounters aren't accidents at all. But I didn't know, not yet, that he'd already made his decision about me. That from the moment our fingers touched over scattered divorce papers, I'd become his. A bird in a gilded cage I couldn't see yet. I didn't know that Marcus had stolen from him. I didn't know that vengeance and obsession taste the same. I didn't know that in exactly 4 hours, my entire world would shatter like glass. All I knew was that the courthouse steps felt too bright after the dim hallway, and the business card in my pocket burned like a brand against my skin. The cafe was unusually quiet for a Thursday afternoon. I tied my apron with mechanical precision, my mind still lingering on the courthouse, on midnight eyes and whispered warnings. Mrs. Antonelli was in the kitchen, singing along to Dean Martin on her ancient radio, the smell of fresh espresso and baking biscotti wrapping around me like a familiar blanket. This place was my sanctuary. Small, worn at the edges, with mismatched chairs and photographs of Sicily covering every available wall space. The kind of neighborhood cafe that survived on loyalty rather than Yelp reviews, where regulars knew each other's orders, and Mrs. Antonelli treated everyone like family. "Bella!" She emerged from the kitchen, flour dusting her gray hair, concern creasing her weathered face. "You look pale. The divorce. It is finished?" "Finished." The word tasted like ash. She crossed herself, muttering something in rapid Italian that probably damned Marcus to several circles of hell. Then she pulled me into a crushing hug that smelled like vanilla and mothballs. "Good. He was no good for you, that one. Too much ambition. Not enough heart. You deserve better, Tesoro." If only she knew about the baby, about the secret growing inside me that made better feel impossible. I pulled away gently. I should start on the tables. Looks like the afternoon rush might actually happen today. Bah, 4 customers is not a rush. But she waved me toward the dining room anyway, returning to her kitchen domain. I was refilling the sugar dispensers when the bell above the door chimed. 3 men entered. Not customers. I knew that immediately, the way prey knows when predators enter the watering hole. They wore cheap suits that didn't quite fit right, their eyes scanning the cafe with the kind of assessment that had nothing to do with menu options. The one in front, bulky, with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow, smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Alessia Chen? My maiden name was already on the divorce papers, but I hadn't legally changed it back yet. Hearing Chen felt like a noose tightening. Rivers, I corrected, setting down the sugar dispenser with a hand that wanted to shake. "Can I help you? Your husband owes our employer money." Scarface moved closer, his companions fanning out to block the door and the kitchen entrance. Professional, practiced. A lot of money. Ex-husband, as of 2 hours ago. I straightened my spine, channeling a courage I didn't feel. Whatever Marcus owes has nothing to do with me. See? That's where you're wrong, sweetheart. He leaned against the counter, invading my space with casual menace. In our business, family is family. Debts pass along bloodlines. And until that divorce is final, really final, not just signed, you're still a Chen. 30 days. The judge had said 30 days until the decree was final. How much? The words came out steadier than I felt. 300,000. He said it like someone ordering coffee. Plus interest. Plus the insult of him thinking he could steal from us and disappear with his little girlfriend. The room tilted. $300,000. I made maybe $25,000 a year, and that was with good tips. I don't have that kind of money. I work in a cafe. I live in a studio apartment. I drive a car that's held together with prayers and duct tape. Panic was rising now, constricting my throat. Please, I didn't know anything about this. I didn't. Boss, don't care what you knew. Scarface straightened, and something in his posture shifted from threatening to dangerous. He cares about getting paid, so here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna come with us? Make a phone call to hubby? Tell him if he wants to see you alive? He brings the money. Simple. Not simple. Not simple at all, because Marcus wouldn't pay. I knew that with the same certainty I knew the sun would rise. He'd chosen his mistress over me. Chosen money over honor. Chosen himself over everything else. Why would he suddenly develop a conscience over my kidnapping? Che cazzo! Mrs. Antonelli's voice rang out from the kitchen doorway, and I'd never been so terrified to see someone I loved. She held a rolling pin like a weapon, her 4'11" frame radiating absolute fury. You get out of my cafe. Out, before I call the police. Mrs. Antonelli, please, I started. Scarface pulled a gun, just like that. Smooth, practiced. The black metal gleaming under the cafe's warm lights. Completely wrong in a place that smelled like cinnamon and coffee. Put down the pin, Nona. We don't want to hurt anyone. Just need to have a conversation with Mrs. Chen here. Time stretched. I could hear my heartbeat, the drip of the espresso machine, Dean Martin crooning about Amore. Could feel the pregnancy test in my purse behind the counter, the business card in my apron pocket. If you need anything, Ms. Rivers, anything at all. Okay. My voice sounded far away. Okay, I'll come with you. Just don't hurt her. Please. She's just an old woman who makes cannoli. This has nothing to do with her. Alessia, no! Mrs. Antonelli's eyes were wide, terrified. Dio mio, child, don't... It's fine. I untied my apron with shaking hands, the business card transferring to my jeans pocket. I'll talk to them. Clear up the misunderstanding. It'll be fine. It wouldn't be fine. We all knew it. Scarface gestured toward the door with his gun. Smart girl. Let's go. I walked past Mrs. Antonelli, saw tears on her wrinkled cheeks, wanted to hug her one last time but knew they wouldn't let me. Call my sister, I whispered. Tell her I love her. The afternoon sunlight was too bright, too normal. People walked past on the sidewalk. A mother with a stroller, teenagers laughing, a businessman on his phone. None of them noticed the woman being herded into a black SUV with tinted windows. None of them saw the beginning of my nightmare. The interior smelled like cigarettes and something chemical I couldn't identify. They zip-tied my wrists, not tight enough to cut circulation, but secure enough to make escape impossible. One man drove. Scarface sat beside me. The third watched out the back window. Where are we going? My voice cracked. Warehouse. Neutral territory. Scarface was texting someone, his thumbs moving rapidly across the screen. Boss wants to handle this personally. Make an example, you know? Can't have people thinking they can steal from the Kozlov organization. Kozlov. Russian mob. Oh God. Marcus had stolen from the Russian mob. He won't pay, I said quietly. You should know that. Marcus won't pay ransom for me. We're divorced. He doesn't care. Then you better hope you're worth something to somebody else. He pocketed his phone, studying me with cold assessment. Pretty girl like you? There's always a market. Arabs pay good money for American girls. Lots of options. Bile rose in my throat. I pressed my bound hands against my stomach. Still flat, still hiding the tiny cluster of cells that would become a person. My child. Marcus's child, whether he knew it or not. I couldn't let them sell me. Couldn't let my baby be born into that horror. The SUV turned into an industrial district, buildings growing more dilapidated with each block. Graffiti-covered brick walls, broken windows gaped like missing teeth. This was where the city rotted, where people disappeared and no one asked questions. We pulled into a warehouse with a rusted metal door. Out. I stumbled from the SUV, my legs weak, my mind racing through impossible escape scenarios. The warehouse was vast and empty, just concrete floors and metal support beams and the echoing drip of water from a leaking roof. A single chair sat in the center, illuminated by a hanging work light. They pushed me toward it. Sit! Don't move. Don't scream. The boss will be here soon. I sat. The metal chair was cold through my jeans. Scarface made a phone call, speaking in rapid Russian. I caught Devushka and Chen, and what might have been an address. Then he hung up, and all three men settled in to wait, smoking cigarettes and watching me like I was livestock. Time became elastic. Could have been 10 minutes or an hour. My wrists ached from the zip ties. The baby. I couldn't stop thinking about the baby, about all the ways this could end badly. The business card felt like it was burning through my pocket. Call this number. But my phone was in my purse, back at the cafe. And even if I had it, how could I call? My hands were tied. I was surrounded. And what would I even say? Hello, mysterious stranger from the courthouse. I'm being held hostage by Russians because my ex-husband is an idiot. Can you help? Ridiculous. Except the way he'd said Marcus's name, the recognition in his eyes, the warning about enemies. He'd known. Somehow he'd known this was coming. The warehouse door screeched open. Footsteps echoed across concrete. Multiple sets, military precise. The Russian straightened, suddenly alert, hands moving toward concealed weapons. Bougez-moi, one of them breathed. A man emerged from the shadows at the edge of the light. Not the Kozlov boss, him. The man from the courthouse, still in that perfect charcoal suit, still radiating that terrible calm. His guards flanked him, the same 2 from before, plus 4 others I didn't recognize. An army in designer clothing. His eyes found mine across the warehouse, and something passed between us. Recognition. Confirmation. Possession. Gentlemen. His voice carried easily in the vast space, that Italian accent turning English into music. You have something that belongs to me. Scarface stepped forward, confused. This is Kozlov business, signore. The girl is Chen's wife. We have claim... No. The word cracked like a whip. The girl is mine, and you made a grave mistake touching what is mine. I couldn't breathe, couldn't process. Mine? I didn't belong to anyone, least of all this dangerous stranger who... With respect, Mr. Russo. Scarface actually sounded nervous now, and that name, Russo, detonated in my mind like a bomb. Everyone in the city knew the Russo family. Everyone feared them. They made the Russians look like amateurs. We didn't know. Chen never mentioned any Russo protection. We thought she was clean. Chen didn't know. Russo. Dante Russo, my mind supplied, because even people who didn't follow mob business knew that name. Moved closer, and his guards moved with him like a synchronized machine. Because I just decided today, this morning, in a courthouse hallway. Capiche? He was lying. Had to be lying. We'd met for 30 seconds, scattered some papers, exchanged maybe 10 sentences, except his eyes said otherwise. His eyes said he'd decided the moment he touched my hand, seen my divorce papers, recognized Marcus's name. His eyes said I'd been his from the beginning, and I just hadn't known it yet. The girl for Chen's debt, one of the other Russians tried. We can negotiate. There is no negotiation. Dante's hand moved, just slightly, just enough, and 8 guns materialized from his guards, all pointed at the 3 Russians. You release her, now. And you tell Kozlov that Marcus Chen is mine to deal with. His debt is paid, by me. Capito? 300,000 will be in Kozlov's account within the hour, plus an additional 200 for the insult of touching my property. He said it so casually, like $500,000 was pocket change. Now, untie her. Scarface looked at his companions, at the guns, at Dante Russo's utterly calm face. Whatever he saw there made the decision. He approached me with a knife. I flinched, couldn't help it, and saw Dante's expression darken to something murderous. Carefully, he said softly. If you harm one hair on her head, I will personally remove every bone in your body. Slowly, the knife sliced through the zip ties. Blood rushed back into my hands, bringing pins and needles and relief. Come here, Piccola. Dante extended his hand, not a request. Never a request with him. I stood on shaking legs, walked across concrete that seemed to stretch forever. Took his hand, warm, steady, branded with that same electric recognition from the courthouse. He pulled me behind him, positioning his body between me and the Russians. One of his guards immediately draped a jacket over my shoulders, expensive cashmere that smelled like sandalwood and safety. If Kozlov has a problem with this arrangement, Dante said, already turning toward the door, he knows where to find me, but tell him to think carefully before he acts. The Russos have been patient with his expansion into our territory. That patience has limits. He walked me out of the warehouse, his hand never leaving mine, his guards forming a protective circle. The sunlight outside felt surreal, too normal after the darkness inside. A different SUV waited, this one black and gleaming, clearly armored, clearly expensive. The door opened like a mouth. Get in, Piccola. His voice was gentle now, coaxing. You're safe. I promise you, you're safe now. I should have run. Should have screamed for help, flagged down a car, done something other than climb into that SUV with a Mafia boss and his private army. But my hands were still shaking from the zip ties. My mind was still reeling from guns and threats and the casual discussion of selling me. And his hand was so steady, his presence so utterly certain. I got in. He slid in beside me, and the door closed with a pneumatic hiss that sounded like fate sealing. "Take us home," he told the driver. Then to me, "You need a doctor. Someone to check you over, make sure you're not injured. I'm fine." My voice sounded distant, shocky. They just tied my hands. Nevertheless, he was examining my wrists, his touch surprisingly gentle for someone who'd just threatened to remove bones. "You will see my personal physician, and then we will talk about Marcus Chen and the many ways he has earned his death." The SUV pulled away from the warehouse, from my brief captivity, from the last moment my life was remotely normal. I should have asked where we were going. Should have demanded to be taken home, or to the police, or literally anywhere but home with Dante Russo. But the business card was still in my pocket. The pregnancy test was somewhere back at the cafe. And I had the terrible, sinking feeling that I'd just traded one kind of prison for another. Only this cage was gilded. And the man who owned it was far more dangerous than Russians with guns. "Why?" I finally whispered. "Why did you pay my debt? Why did you claim I was yours? You don't even know me." He looked at me then. Really looked, those midnight eyes seeing things I wanted to hide. "Don't I?" His thumb traced my pulse point, feeling the rabbit-fast beat of my heart. "Your husband stole from me, Piccola. $5 million. And when I find him, and I will find him, I will take everything he values. His money, his life, his freedom." He leaned closer, until I could feel his breath against my cheek. "But you, I'm keeping." Dante Russo's home wasn't a home. It was a fortress disguised as a palazzo. The SUV wound through increasingly exclusive neighborhoods, past mansions with iron gates and security cameras, until we reached an estate that made the others look modest. Stone walls topped with elegant spikes. Guards at the entrance who checked the vehicle's undercarriage with mirrors before waving us through. Manicured gardens that probably required a full-time staff. The house itself was 3 stories of Italian Renaissance architecture, all honey-colored stone and arched windows, with a fountain in the circular driveway depicting some mythological scene I didn't recognize. Wealth whispered from every corner, the kind that spanned generations rather than lottery wins. I pressed my hand against my stomach, a nervous habit I'd developed since seeing those 2 pink lines. This world, this gilded, dangerous world, was so far removed from my studio apartment with its peeling linoleum and temperamental heating. Where are we? Though I already knew, already understood. Home. Dante helped me from the SUV with the same careful courtesy he'd shown since the warehouse, as if I were made of glass. My home, where you will stay until I'm certain you're safe. I can't just stay in a stranger's house. We are not strangers, Piccola. He guided me toward the entrance, his hand on the small of my back, possessive, claiming. We became something more the moment you touched my hand, the moment I decided you were worth keeping. A woman waited at the door, mid-50s, steel-gray hair pulled into a neat bun, wearing a black dress that screamed housekeeper, but with an air of authority that suggested she ran this palace with an iron fist. "Mr. Russo." She nodded crisply, then her gaze moved to me. Something softened in her expression. "And our guest." "Si, Alessia, this is Signora Marta. She manages the household." He switched to rapid Italian and I caught fragments. Camera, medico, protezione. Room, doctor, protection. Marta responded in kind, her eyes never leaving me with what might have been sympathy or pity. Hard to tell which was worse. The interior was somehow more overwhelming than the exterior. Marble floors covered with Persian rugs, a sweeping staircase with wrought iron railings, oil paintings in gilded frames, actual art, not prints, fresh flowers on tables that probably cost more than my monthly rent. This was power made tangible, legacy written in architecture and heirlooms. The East Wing, I think, Dante was saying. Away from business areas and post guards. No one enters without my permission. Of course, signore. Marta gestured toward the staircase. If you'll follow me, signorina, I'll show you to your rooms. Rooms, plural. I looked at Dante, suddenly desperate for some anchor in this surreal situation. What about Marcus? If he finds out I'm here, he won't. Dante's voice carried absolute certainty. And if he did, he would have to go through me. Through my men. Through walls that have stood for 150 years and survived 2 world wars. He touched my cheek. Just briefly. The gesture somehow more intimate than a kiss. You are under my protection now, Piccola. Nothing and no one will harm you. This I swear on my family's name. The Russo name, which apparently meant something, even to Russian mobsters with guns. I followed Marta up the staircase, my legs weak, my mind struggling to process everything that had happened in the past 6 hours. Divorce, courthouse encounter, kidnapping, rescue, and now this. Sanctuary or prison, I couldn't tell which. The east wing was quieter, removed from whatever business Dante conducted in other parts of the house. Marta opened double doors to reveal a suite that belonged in a magazine spread, 4-poster bed with silk sheets, sitting area with a fireplace, French doors opening to a balcony overlooking gardens that stretched toward a distant tree line, an ensuite bathroom with a clawfoot tub and shower that could fit 4 people. Mr. Russo asked that you make yourself comfortable, Marta said, her English accented but clear. There are clothes in the wardrobe, various sizes. We keep them for guests. Toiletries in the bathroom. If you need anything at all, use the phone. She pointed to an antique-looking device on the bedside table. Press 1 for me, 2 for kitchen, 3 for Mr. Russo. Thank you. My voice came out small, lost. She paused in the doorway, studying me with those sharp eyes. He is not a gentleman, our Mr. Russo, but he is honorable in his way. If he says you are protected, you are protected. Capisce? I nodded, not trusting my voice. When she left, I sank onto the bed, so soft I nearly disappeared, and finally let myself shake, really shake. The kind of full-body tremors that come after adrenaline fades and reality sets in. I'd been kidnapped by Russian mobsters because Marcus had stolen money, not just from anyone, but from Dante Russo, $5 million. The number was so absurd it felt fictional. And Dante had paid my ransom, $500,000, just like that. Plus whatever he'd owed the Russians. For me, a waitress he'd met once in a courthouse hallway. You are mine. The words echoed in my head, terrifying and thrilling in equal measure. I pulled out my phone. They'd given me my purse back at some point, though I barely remembered, and saw 17 missed calls, Mrs. Antonelli, my sister Emma, 2 unknown numbers that might have been Marcus, or might have been more threats. I called Emma first. Alessia. She nearly screamed it. Oh my God, where are you? Mrs. Antonelli called hysterical, said men took you, said she tried to stop them, but they had guns. Are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm calling the police right now. Em, slow down. I pressed my fingers to my temple, fighting back tears. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm somewhere safe. Where? I'm coming to get you. No, too sharp. I softened my tone. No, you can't. It's complicated. Marcus, he got involved with dangerous people, owed them money. They thought I could help them get it, that bastard. Emma's voice turned vicious. I never liked him. Never. And now he's putting you in danger? I'm going to kill him myself. The debt's been paid. Someone paid it for me. I'm staying with him until everything calms down. Not quite a lie. Not quite the truth. Him who? Alessia, you're not making sense. How could I explain Dante Russo to my sister, the kindergarten teacher who thought jaywalking was edgy, who'd never even gotten a speeding ticket? A family friend, the lie tasted wrong, of the Antonellis. He has connections. He's making sure I'm safe while Marcus is dealt with. Dealt with how? I don't know, and I don't want to know. That, at least, was true. Em, I need you to do something for me. Go to my apartment. In the bathroom, under the sink, there's something I need you to get. The pregnancy test. I couldn't leave it there for landlords or police or whoever might search my place. What is it? Just a personal item. Please. And don't look at it. Just bring it to me. I'll text you an address where we can meet. A lie. I had no idea if Dante would let me leave, even to meet my sister. Alessia, you're scaring me. I'm scared too, I whispered. But I'm safe. That's what matters. Just give me a few days to figure this out, okay? We talked for a few more minutes before she reluctantly agreed. When I hung up, I felt more alone than ever. A soft knock interrupted my spiraling thoughts. Signorina? Marta's voice. Dr. Castellano is here. The doctor was a small, neat man with wire-rimmed glasses and the gentle manner of someone used to dealing with trauma victims. He examined me thoroughly, checking my wrists, my vitals, asking questions about pain or dizziness or nausea. That last one made me freeze. Nausea? He repeated, noticing my reaction. You have been experiencing this? Morning sickness. Probably just stress. I see. His expression remained professionally neutral. And when was your last menstrual period? My throat closed. 6 weeks ago, maybe 7. Would you like me to confirm pregnancy? With your permission, of course. I wanted to say no. Wanted to keep the secret a little longer, in this strange liminal space where only I knew. But the doctor was already here, already trusted by Dante. And eventually, everyone would know anyway. Yes, I whispered. Please. The test was quick, clinical. The opposite of the panic-stricken home test I'd taken 2 days ago in my bathroom at 3 a.m. Congratulations, Ms. Rivers. Dr. Castellano smiled gently. You are indeed pregnant. Approximately 7 weeks, based on your dates. I can schedule you for a proper ultrasound if you'd like. The world tilted. Hearing it confirmed by a medical professional made it real in a way the pink lines hadn't. I was going to have a baby. Marcus's baby. While hiding in a Mafia boss's mansion because my ex-husband had stolen $5 million. Does Mr. Russo need to know? I asked quietly. The doctor paused, choosing his words carefully. My oath requires me to keep patient information confidential unless there is imminent danger. But Ms. Rivers, Mr. Russo values honesty. And he protects what he considers his. If you are carrying a child, he will want to ensure both of you receive the best care. It's not his baby. No. He packed away his equipment, but you are his guest, under his protection. That makes the child his concern, whether biologically related or not. I strongly suggest you tell him yourself, before he discovers it another way. After he left, I stood on the balcony, breathing in air that smelled like jasmine and money. The gardens stretched endlessly, beautiful and imprisoning all at once. My hand found my stomach again. I don't know what I'm doing, I told the tiny cluster of cells. I don't know how to keep us safe, or what comes next, or if your father even deserves to know about you. The French doors opened behind me. I didn't have to turn to know it was him, could feel his presence like a change in air pressure. The doctor says you are healthy. Dante joined me at the railing, maintaining a careful distance, but that you should rest. You have experienced significant trauma today. Every day with Marcus was trauma, I said without thinking. Today was just more obvious. He was quiet for a moment, and I felt his gaze on my profile. Studying, calculating. Why did you marry him? The question surprised me. Love. Or what I thought was love. He was charming, ambitious. Said he wanted to build a life together. I laughed bitterly. Turns out he just wanted someone to come home to while he built a life with someone else. Stupido. The word was soft, but vicious. To have you and choose another. To have loyalty and choose betrayal. His hand covered mine on the railing. I do not make such mistakes, Piccola. When I choose something, I keep it. There it was again. That possessive certainty that should terrify me but instead felt like the only solid thing in a shifting world. You don't know me, I protested weakly. You don't know if I'm worth keeping. I know you signed divorce papers rather than cling to a man who did not deserve you. His thumb traced circles on my knuckles. I know you apologized for bumping into me when most people cannot meet my eyes. I know you tried to protect that old woman in the cafe, even knowing it was futile. I know you are brave and kind and utterly wasted on men who cannot see your value. My breath caught. That's not knowing me. That's observing me. See. He turned me to face him, his hands framing my face with unexpected gentleness. "And I will observe everything about you, Piccola. Learn every thought, every fear, every dream you have hidden away. I will know you better than you know yourself. And when I am done, you will understand why I chose to keep you. I'm not a possession. No." His eyes burned into mine. "You are so much more than that. You are the rarest thing in my world. Something pure. Something uncorrupted by the violence and greed that surrounds me, and I will do whatever necessary to keep you that way. Even if I want to leave," his jaw tightened. "You do not want to leave. Not yet. You are frightened and overwhelmed, see, but you are also curious, also drawn to me, the same way I am drawn to you." His thumb brushed my lower lip. "Deny it if you wish. Lie to yourself. But your body knows the truth, and God help me. He was right." My heart raced when he touched me. My skin warmed under his gaze. Every instinct screamed danger, but beneath that was something darker. Something that wanted to lean into his strength, let him shoulder the weight of protecting me. Something that whispered, "Surrender." "I should tell you something," I heard myself say. About me. About my situation." Interest sharpened his expression. "Tell me." The words caught in my throat. How did I tell a Mafia boss, a man who'd just claimed ownership of me, that I was carrying another man's child, that the debt he'd paid, the woman he'd chosen to keep, came with complications he couldn't have anticipated? A phone rang, harsh and insistent. Dante pulled back, frustration flashing across his face. He checked the screen, and something shifted in his expression. "I must take this. Business that cannot wait." He touched my cheek one last time. "Rest, Piccola. We will talk more at dinner, and you will tell me whatever weighs so heavily on your mind." He left, and I sagged against the railing, heart pounding. Dinner. I had until dinner to figure out how to tell Dante Russo I was pregnant with my ex-husband's baby, the man who'd stolen $5 million from him, the man Dante had promised to destroy. I pressed both hands to my stomach, as if I could protect this tiny secret just a little bit longer. But secrets in this house, in this life, felt impossible to keep, and when Dante discovered the truth, I had no idea if his protection would extend to a child fathered by his enemy, or if I'd just doomed us both. Dinner was served in a dining room that could seat 20 but held only 2. Marta had delivered a dress to my room an hour before, deep emerald silk that fit perfectly, though I had no idea how they'd guessed my size. It draped elegantly, cinched at the waist, and made me look like someone who belonged in this world of crystal chandeliers and ancestral portraits. I didn't belong. The dress was just another beautiful lie. Dante was already seated when I entered, though he stood immediately. Old-world manners from a man who'd threatened to remove someone's bones that afternoon. He'd changed into a black shirt, no tie, the top buttons undone to reveal a glimpse of olive skin and what looked like the edge of a tattoo. Bellissima. His eyes traveled over me with an intensity that made my skin flush. "The dress suits you. It's beautiful. Thank you." I took the seat he held out, hyper-aware of his proximity as he pushed it in. "Though I'm not sure why you have women's clothing in various sizes just lying around." A slight smile. "My mother visits occasionally, my sister. Sometimes business associates bring wives or daughters who need accommodations." He returned to his seat. "And sometimes I rescue women from warehouses and discover I am unprepared for their arrival." Marta appeared with the first course, some kind of soup that smelled divine. Then she vanished like smoke, leaving us alone in the vast room. "This is too much," I said quietly. "The room, the clothes, the doctor, paying my debt. I can't repay you. I work in a cafe. I'll never have that kind of money. I do not want your money, Piccola." He tasted the soup, watching me over the spoon. "Eat. You are too pale." "Then what do you want?" The question came out more forcefully than intended. "You keep saying I'm yours, that you're keeping me, but you haven't explained why. What does that even mean?" He set down his spoon with careful precision. "It means you stay here, under my protection, until Marcus is found and dealt with. It means you do not work at that cafe, where any enemy could find you. It means you accept my guards, my security, my attention, and in return, I ensure your safety. That sounds like a very one-sided arrangement. See, no apology in his voice. It is. Because I am a selfish man who takes what he wants and justifies it however necessary. I wanted you from the moment you touched my hand, Piccola. Everything after that was merely logistics. The honesty was startling. Most men dressed up their possessiveness in pretty words: love, protection, concern. Dante simply stated it as fact. And what I want doesn't matter? What you want matters very much. He leaned forward, intense. Which is why I have not locked you in that beautiful room, though the thought crossed my mind. Why I ask rather than command. Why I let you keep your phone, your contact with the outside world, when every instinct tells me to cut those ties. How generous. The sarcasm tasted bitter. It is, actually. For a man like me. No humor in his expression now. I have taken countries' worth of territory with less negotiation, ended lives with less hesitation. But you? You, I am trying to keep intact. Whole. Because breaking you would defeat the purpose. And what is the purpose? His eyes burned. To keep something good in a world of rot. To possess something pure before it becomes corrupted. To have one thing, just one, that is mine not through violence or fear, but through— He paused, searching for words. Through choice. Eventually. You think I'll choose this? Choose you? I know you will. Absolute certainty. Because I am patient. Because I will show you that safety with me is better than freedom in a world where men like Marcus exist. Where Russian mobsters tie your wrists and discuss selling you like livestock. His voice dropped to something dangerous. Tell me, Piccola, did you feel safe in your studio apartment? In that cafe? Walking alone at night, knowing your ex-husband made enemies who might come for you? I wanted to lie. Wanted to say yes. I'd felt perfectly safe, needed no one. But my hand had already moved to my stomach. That unconscious protective gesture I couldn't seem to stop. His gaze followed the movement, sharpened. You are hurt? The doctor said. I'm fine. I pulled my hand away too quickly. Just nervous habit. You do it often. Touch your stomach. He was studying me now with that predator's focus. When you are stressed or frightened, I noticed in the warehouse, in the car. Just now, when I asked if you felt safe. My heart hammered. I told you it's just a habit. Piccola. He set down his wine glass. I have built an empire on reading people, on seeing what they do not say, and you are hiding something, not a question. A statement. This was it. The moment I'd been dreading since Dr. Castellano confirmed what I already knew. I could lie. Could deflect. Could keep this secret buried a little longer. But Dante was right. He would find out eventually, and finding out I'd lied would be so much worse than hearing the truth now. I'm pregnant. The words fell between us like stones. 7 weeks. It's Marcus's. And before you ask, no, he doesn't know. No one knows except the doctor and now you. Silence stretched. The kind of terrible, heavy silence that precedes storms. Dante's expression had gone completely blank. Not angry, not disgusted, just empty. The mask he probably wore when ordering executions or conducting business that required emotional distance. Pregnant. He repeated the word like he was testing its weight. With Chen's child. Yes. My hands clenched in my lap. I found out 2 days ago. Took the test the night before I signed the divorce papers. I was going to tell him, but then I realized— My voice cracked. He was leaving anyway. For her. A baby would just be another obligation he didn't want. So you hid it. So I hid it, I confirmed. Signed the papers. Decided to raise the baby alone. It's not ideal, but I have my sister, and Mrs. Antonelli, and I'd figure it out somehow. I met his eyes, refusing to look away. And then you paid $500,000 for me. Brought me to your fortress, claimed I was yours. So now I'm telling you, you didn't just acquire me. You acquired a pregnant woman carrying your enemy's child. And if that changes things, if you want me to leave— No. The word cracked like a whip. He stood abruptly, the chair scraping against marble. "You do not leave. Not now, not ever." He circled the table with that predatory grace. Stopping beside my chair, I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. "Stand up." My legs obeyed before my brain caught up. His hands framed my face, tilting it up to his. "You carry a child. Chen's child, see, but also yours. Part of you. And that makes the baby mine as well, capiche?" "That doesn't make sense." "It makes perfect sense." His thumb stroked my cheekbones with unexpected gentleness. "You are mine, Piccola. Therefore everything about you is mine. Your safety, your future, your child. All of it falls under my protection now. You can't just claim someone else's baby. Watch me." No arrogance in the statement, just fact. "Marcus Chen forfeited all rights the moment he betrayed you, the moment he stole from me, the moment he made you vulnerable to men who would have hurt you and the child you carry." His voice dropped to something almost tender. "He does not deserve to know about this baby, does not deserve the gift of your love, your loyalty, your body creating life." Tears burned my eyes. "I'm terrified," I whispered. "I don't know how to be a mother. Don't know if I can do this alone." "You are not alone." He pulled me against his chest, one hand cradling the back of my head, the other splaying across my lower back. "Never again, Piccola. You have me now. My resources, my protection, my family. I shouldn't have felt safe, shouldn't have relaxed into the embrace of a man who'd bought my freedom like it was nothing, who spoke of ownership and possession without apology. But God help me. I did feel safe. For the first time since seeing those pink lines, since signing those divorce papers, since Marcus had chosen her over me, I felt like maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. "What about Marcus?" I asked into his shirt. "When you find him, he will pay for what he stole, what he did to you. But the baby..." Dante pulled back enough to meet my eyes. "The child is innocent, blameless, and will be raised as mine if you allow it." My breath caught. "Yours?" "See." No hesitation. "Let Chen rot in whatever hole I bury him in. Let him die never knowing he fathered a child. This baby will have my name, my protection, my legacy. Will grow up knowing a father who chose them, rather than one who abandoned them." It was insane. Completely, utterly insane. And also the most romantic thing anyone had ever said to me. "You don't have to do that," I managed. That's too much." "I do what I want, Piccola, and I want this. Want you. Want the family you will build with me, whether biology agrees or not." His hand moved to my stomach, covering where mine had been earlier. "This child will be a Russo, mine in every way that matters. We barely know each other. Then we will learn." He guided me back to my chair, but instead of returning to his seat, he knelt beside me. Actually knelt. This powerful man who probably hadn't knelt for anyone since he was a child. "I am not a good man, Alessia. I have done terrible things. Will do more terrible things before I die. But I swear to you, on my family's name, on my mother's grave, I will be good to you, to this child. You will want for nothing, fear nothing. And anyone who threatens you will learn why the Russo name carries weight in this city." I believed him. That was the terrifying part. I absolutely believed every word. "I need time," I said quietly, "to process all of this. The pregnancy, Marcus, you, everything. It's too much too fast. You have time." He stood, pressed a kiss to my forehead that felt like a brand. "All the time you need, but you take it here, under my roof, where I can keep you safe." We finished dinner in strange silence. Not uncomfortable, but charged with everything unsaid. He asked about the baby, about how I was feeling, if I'd experienced morning sickness or fatigue. Practical questions that felt surreal coming from a Mafia boss. After dinner, he walked me back to my room, his hand on the small of my back the entire way. "Sleep well, Piccola." He paused at my door. "If you need anything at all, use the phone. I will come, even at 3 in the morning, especially at 3 in the morning." A slight smile. "Those are the hours when fear speaks loudest, when you most need to know you are not alone." He left before I could respond, disappearing down the hallway with that silent, predatory grace. I closed the door and leaned against it, my emotions a tangled mess. This morning, I'd been Alessia Chen, soon-to-be divorced waitress with a secret pregnancy and no prospects. Tonight, I was Alessia Rivers, protected by one of the most dangerous men in the city, carrying a child he'd claimed as his own, despite no biological connection. My phone buzzed. Emma, got the thing from your apartment. Meet tomorrow? Coffee shop on 5th? I stared at the text. The thing was the pregnancy test, evidence of my secret, now in my sister's possession. Should I tell her about Dante? About where I was really staying? Another text. Also, Marcus called me, looking for you, sounded desperate. Said to tell you he's sorry, needs to talk. I told him to go to hell. Was that okay? Marcus was looking for me, probably because Dante's people were looking for him, and he'd figured out I was somehow involved. Too late. Whatever he wanted to say, whatever apologies he'd crafted, they meant nothing now. I texted back, can't do coffee tomorrow, still lying low. Can you mail the thing to me? I'll send an address. Would Dante let me receive mail, or would that compromise security somehow? I called the number for him, 3 on the bedside phone. He answered on the first ring. What is wrong? Nothing's wrong. My sister has something I need, a personal item. Can she mail it here? Or would that be a security risk? A pause. What item? The pregnancy test, the one I took before the courthouse. I asked her to get it from my apartment. I could hear him moving, a door closing. Yes, she can mail it. But Piccola, why do you need the test? The doctor confirmed. I know. I want to keep it. First evidence of the baby, you know, something to show them someday. The silence on the other end felt warm somehow. You will be a good mother. I hope so. I know so. Rustling sounds like he was settling into a chair. Give your sister this address. I will inform security to expect a package. And Alessia? Yes? Thank you for trusting me with this. With the baby. I know it is not easy. After we hung up, I lay in the enormous bed, staring at the ceiling. 3 days ago, my biggest worry was whether I could afford prenatal vitamins on a waitress salary. Now, I was living in a mansion, protected by armed guards, while a Mafia boss who'd known me for less than 12 hours promised to raise my child as his own. My hand found my stomach again. I don't know if I'm making the right choice, I whispered to the tiny life inside me, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like maybe someone actually wants us. Both of us. And that has to count for something. Outside, I heard footsteps in the hallway, guards on patrol, keeping watch through the night. Inside, I felt the first flutter of something that might have been hope, or might have been the beginning of falling for a man as dangerous as he was devoted. Either way, there was no going back now. 3 weeks passed in a strange dream. The mansion became familiar, its routines, its rhythms, the quiet efficiency of Marta and her staff. I learned which hallways led to Dante's office, off limits unless invited, which gardens were safest for morning walks, the East Garden, always with 2 guards trailing discreetly, which meals Dante would actually stop working to attend, dinner always, no matter what crisis demanded his attention. I learned the sound of his footsteps, could distinguish them from his guards, learned the particular quality of silence that meant he was thinking, versus the silence that meant he was dangerous. Learned that he drank espresso black, hated mornings, and had a scar across his ribs from a knife fight when he was 17. And he learned me with the same focused intensity he probably applied to hostile takeovers. He knew I liked my coffee with too much cream, that I woke at 3 a.m. with anxiety spiraling, and he'd appear at my door within minutes. Never asked how he knew, just settled into the armchair by my bed and talked until sleep found me again. That I craved citrus and ginger tea, couldn't stand the smell of red meat anymore, and cried at insurance commercials, because the hormones were making me insane. It's normal, Dr. Castellano assured me during my second visit. He came to the house now, another thing Dante had arranged without asking. First trimester emotions are intense, and given your circumstances, some anxiety is expected. My circumstances. Divorced, pregnant, living with a Mafia boss while my ex-husband had vanished into whatever hole desperate thieves hide in. Emma had visited twice, escorted by Dante's men to ensure she wasn't followed. She'd been predictably horrified by the mansion, the guards, the entire situation. "Alessia, this is insane," she'd hissed during her first visit, in the garden where we could speak privately. "You're living with a mobster, an actual criminal. What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking he's kept me safer than Marcus ever did," I'd replied quietly. "I'm thinking when I told him about the baby, he didn't run, didn't make excuses, just accepted it, claimed it as his. It's not his baby. I know." I'd pressed my hand to my stomach, 12 weeks now, just starting to show a slight curve. "But he doesn't care. Says the baby is mine, therefore his. And when was the last time someone chose me? Really chose me, knowing all my messy complications?" She'd softened then, seeing something in my face that made her hug me fiercely. "Just be careful. Please. Men like that, they're dangerous." "I know," I'd whispered into her shoulder, but so is being alone. Now, 3 weeks in, I was getting ready for something Dante called family dinner. His mother and sister were visiting from New York, wanted to meet me. The woman he'd claimed so publicly that apparently the entire East Coast underworld knew about it. "You do not have to do this," Dante said, watching me pace his office in the black dress Marta had selected. Simple, elegant, appropriate for meeting the family of a man I wasn't actually dating. "I can make excuses. No." I stopped pacing. "If I'm staying here, if we're doing this, whatever this is, I should meet your family. This," he said carefully, "is you under my protection. You do not owe my mother dinner conversation." But we both knew it was more than that now. The casual touches, his hand on my back, my shoulder, once brushing hair from my face. The way he sought me out between meetings, as if checking I was still real. The night I'd had cramps. Normal, the doctor said, but terrifying. And he'd stayed with me until dawn. His hand on my stomach like he could will the baby to be okay through sheer force of presence. We hadn't kissed. Hadn't crossed that line. But the line was getting thinner every day. "Your mother knows about the baby?" I asked. "See." He stood from his desk, crossing to where I'd stopped by the window. "I do not keep secrets from my family. She knows you are pregnant with another man's child. Knows I have claimed you both anyway. And she's okay with that?" A slight smile. "She thinks I am insane, but she also thinks any woman who can make me this unsettled deserves a chance. I make you unsettled, terribilmente." He touched my face, that gesture becoming familiar now. "You undo me, Piccola. Make me want things I thought I had no use for. Family, permanence, a child's laughter in halls that have only known business and blood." My breath caught. "Dante, I know you are not ready to hear this. Not ready to accept what is happening between us." His thumb traced my lower lip, "But I am a patient man when it matters. And you, Alessia, you matter more than anything." The dinner bell rang. Marta's way of announcing guests had arrived. Dante offered his arm. "Ready to meet the infamous Isabella Russo?" "No," I admitted, "but let's do it anyway." Isabella Russo was 70, silver-haired, and absolutely terrifying. She swept into the dining room like a queen inspecting her domain, sharp eyes taking in everything. The table settings, the flowers, me standing beside her son with his hand possessively on my lower back. "Mama." Dante kissed both her cheeks, genuine warmth in his voice. "You look well." "I look old." She swatted him affectionately, then turned those dark eyes, so like her son's, on me. "And you are the girl who has my son acting like a lovesick fool." I'm Alessia." I extended my hand, which she ignored in favor of pulling me into a hug that smelled like lavender and power. "You are too skinny," she declared, stepping back to examine me. "And too pale." "Dante, is she eating? She should be eating more, especially now." "She eats, Mama. The pregnancy makes her nauseous. Bah, ginger tea, crackers, small meals throughout the day." Isabella took my arm, steering me toward the table. When I carried Dante, I could not stand the smell of garlic for months. Months. His father thought I had lost my mind. Dante's sister, Gianna, was younger. mid-30s, with her brother's sharp intelligence but a warmer demeanor. She hugged me carefully, like I might break. "Don't let Mama intimidate you," she whispered. "She acts tough, but she's already planning the nursery." Dinner was surreal. Isabella asked pointed questions about my family, my education, my plans for the baby. Not cruel questions, but the kind a mother asks when vetting a potential daughter-in-law, which I wasn't. Couldn't be. "Could I? Your ex-husband," Isabella said over the third course. "He has not been found?" Dante's expression darkened. "Not yet. But he will be. And when he is, he pays for what he stole, what he did." Dante's hand found mine under the table, squeezed. "But Alessia and the baby remain protected. That does not change." Isabella studied us both with those shrewd eyes. "You care for my son?" The question caught me off guard. We barely know each other. That is not what I asked. I looked at Dante, at the man who'd paid my ransom, claimed my child, made me feel safer than I'd ever felt, who checked on me at 3 a.m. and brought me ginger tea without being asked, and looked at me like I was something precious. "Yes," I admitted quietly. "I care for him. More than is probably smart." "Ben," Isabella nodded, satisfied. "Smart is overrated. Love is what matters. And whether you know it yet or not, Cara, you are falling in love with my son." "Mama," Dante started. "Zito." She waved him silent. "I did not raise a fool, and she is not a fool either. You think I cannot see the way you look at her? The way she softens when you touch her? I may be old, but I am not blind." Gianna was trying not to laugh. "Mama, maybe let them figure it out themselves." "Figure it out? They are already figured out. They just have not admitted it yet." Isabella turned back to me. "He will be a good father. Overprotective, see. Probably insufferable, but good. And any child raised with Russo love will want for nothing." Tears burned my eyes. Hormones again, or maybe just the overwhelming relief of being accepted, of someone looking at my complicated situation and not seeing a problem, but a family. After dinner, we moved to a sitting room where Gianna showed me photos of Dante as a child, gap-toothed and serious even then, always standing protectively in front of his younger sister. "He has always been this way," Gianna said softly, protective to the point of obsession. "When our father died, Dante was only 22, but he stepped into the role like he was born to it, took care of everything, everyone, including me," Isabella added from her chair. "Even when I insisted I did not need taking care of." She smiled at her son. "He cannot help himself. It is in his blood to protect what is his." "I am not a thing to be owned," I said, but without heat. "No," Dante agreed, settling beside me on the sofa. "You are something far more valuable. You are chosen." The evening wound down eventually. Isabella hugged me goodbye with promises to visit again soon, to help with the baby when it came. Gianna pressed her phone number into my hand. "Call me any time," she said, "even just to talk. Being alone in this world." She gestured to the mansion, the guards, the beautiful prison. "Can be isolating. You need friends who understand." When they left, the house felt too quiet. Dante walked me to my room, as had become his habit. But tonight I didn't want to be alone. Didn't want to lie in that enormous bed thinking about everything that had changed. "Stay," I said at my door. "Just for a while. Please." Something shifted in his expression. "Alessia, I'm not asking for anything except company. I just don't want to be alone tonight." He followed me inside, settling into the armchair while I curled up on the bed. We talked about nothing and everything. His childhood, my sister, the baby's future. He told me about his father, who'd built the Russo empire from nothing. I told him about my mother, who died when I was young, leaving Emma and me to raise each other. "You are stronger than you think," he said quietly. "Losing your mother, surviving Marcus, facing motherhood alone, that takes courage. I'm not alone anymore. No." He moved to the bed, sitting on the edge. "You are not. You will never be alone again, Piccola. I swear it." The words hung between us, heavy with promise. I reached for his hand, threading our fingers together. "Your mother thinks I'm falling in love with you. My mother is very wise and presumptuous. But I couldn't deny it. Couldn't pretend I hadn't been falling for weeks now. Slowly, inevitably, like water finding its level. This is crazy. We've known each other less than a month. Time is irrelevant. His free hand cupped my face. I knew the moment I saw you in that courthouse. Knew you were meant to be mine. That's not how the world works. It is how my world works. He leaned closer, until I could see flecks of gold in those dark eyes. I take what I want, Alicia, and I have wanted you from the beginning. But I will not take this. His thumb brushed my lips, until you give it freely, until you admit what we both know is true. My heart hammered. And what is that? That you are mine. That this baby is mine. That you do not want to leave this cage I have built for you, because you have realized something important. What? That some cages are not prisons. His forehead touched mine. Some are sanctuaries, and you, Piccola, are finally safe enough to stop running. He was right. God help me, he was right. I'd spent 3 years running, from Marcus's indifference, from my own inadequacy, from the fear that I'd never be enough. And then I'd planned to run further, to raise a baby alone, to pretend I didn't need anyone, to be strong through sheer stubbornness. But here, in this beautiful cage with this dangerous man, I could finally stop, could finally admit I needed someone, that I wanted to be chosen, protected, loved. Kiss me, I whispered. His eyes darkened. Are you certain? I'm terrified, but yes, I'm certain. The kiss was nothing like I expected. Gentle at first, reverent almost, like I was something holy. His lips moved against mine with practiced skill, coaxing rather than demanding, giving me every opportunity to pull away. I didn't pull away. I leaned in, my hands fisting in his shirt, and kissed him back with all the fear and hope and desperate longing I'd been holding inside. He groaned, deepening the kiss, one hand cradling my head while the other splayed across my lower back, drawing me closer, careful of the baby, always so careful. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes burned with possession and something softer. Ti amo, he whispered against my lips. From the moment I saw you, Piccola, I love you. That's impossible. Nothing is impossible when you want it badly enough. He kissed my forehead, my cheeks, my nose, and I want you. This child. The family we will build. Everything. I'm still scared, I admitted. Ben, fear keeps you smart. He pulled me against his chest, and I could hear his heartbeat, steady, strong, alive. But fear with me is different than fear alone. Here, you can be afraid and still be safe, can be vulnerable and still be protected. Capiche? I understood. Finally, I understood. This wasn't about possession or control or the darker things people whispered about men like Dante Russo. This was about a man who'd looked at a broken woman in a courthouse hallway and decided she was worth keeping, worth fighting for, worth loving, complications and all. What about Marcus? I asked. When you find him? He will face justice, my justice. Dante's voice hardened. But you do not need to know the details. Do not need to carry that weight. Will you kill him? A pause. Would it bother you if I did? I thought about Marcus. About 3 years of being invisible, unwanted, second choice. About the baby growing inside me that he'd never know existed. No, I said honestly. He stopped being my concern the moment he chose someone else. Good. Dante kissed my hair. Because he signed his death warrant the moment he put you in danger. Made you vulnerable. And I do not forgive such things. We stayed like that for hours. Talking, kissing, planning a future that seemed impossible but felt inevitable. He told me about the nursery being prepared, the best schools in the city, the trust fund he'd already established for the baby. I told him about my fears, that I'd be a terrible mother, that the baby would somehow sense it wasn't really his, that this happiness was too fragile to last. Nothing is certain in this life, Piccola, he said as dawn crept through the windows, but I can promise you this, I will protect you, provide for you, love you and this child with everything I have, and anyone who threatens that will learn why the Russo name is feared. 2 months later, Marcus Chen's body was found in the river. The news reported it as a mob hit. Debts unpaid, loyalty betrayed. The usual narrative when criminals turned on each other. The investigation would go nowhere, because investigations involving the Russo family always went nowhere. I felt nothing when I heard, no grief, no satisfaction. Just a distant sense of closure. The man who'd fathered my child was gone. And the man who'd chosen to raise my child sat beside me on the couch, his hand on my visible baby bump, talking softly to someone he'd never biologically created but already loved completely. "Your mama is scared," he told my stomach. "Worried about labor, about whether she will be good enough, stupid of fears, because she is already the best mother. Do you know how I know?" "How?" I asked, smiling despite myself. "Because she chose to keep you, even when it would have been easier to end things. Even when she had no support, no resources, no future secured. She chose you. And that, Piccolo, is the purest form of love." The baby kicked. First time I'd felt it clearly, and Dante's face transformed into something like wonder. "Dio mio. Did you feel that?" "Yes." I placed my hand over his. "That's your baby, Dante." Saying hello to their father, he kissed me then, soft and deep and full of promise. "Our baby," he corrected. "Ours, now and always." 6 months after that courthouse encounter, I stood in a nursery painted soft yellow, watching Dante rock our daughter to sleep. Sofia Isabella Russo had arrived 3 weeks early, screaming her displeasure at the world with impressive lung power. She had Marcus's dark hair and my green eyes, but when she looked at Dante, she smiled. A toothless, milk-drunk smile that made this dangerous man melt completely. "She has you wrapped around her tiny finger," I teased from the doorway. "See?" No shame in his voice, and I am perfectly content with this arrangement. He transferred her carefully to the crib, tucking the blanket around her with practiced ease. "Sleep, Principessa. Your mama and I will be right outside." In the hallway, he pulled me into his arms, and I relaxed into his familiar strength. "Are you happy?" he asked quietly. I thought about the question, about everything I'd lost and everything I'd gained, about the life I'd planned versus the life I was living. "I'm terrified," I admitted. "Of motherhood, of this world you live in, of something happening to you or Sophia or this fragile happiness we've built." "That is not an answer, Piccola. But yes." I looked up at him. This man who'd claimed me in a warehouse, protected me in his fortress, loved me despite every logical reason not to. "I'm happy. Improbably, impossibly happy." "Ben." He kissed my forehead. "Because you are mine, Alessia Russo. You and Sophia both. And I protect what is mine with everything I am. Russo." I'd taken his name last month, a quiet courthouse ceremony. Nothing like my first wedding. Just Dante, me, Emma, Isabella, and Gianna, a judge who didn't ask questions and didn't care about the timeline. Alessia Russo. The name of a woman who'd learned that sometimes safety looks like danger, that protection can feel like possession, that the most dangerous men can also be the most devoted fathers, that love doesn't follow rules or timelines or logic. It just is. "Take me to bed," I whispered against his chest. "I want to fall asleep in your arms. Sempre," he promised. "Always. For the rest of our lives, Piccola, you will never sleep alone again." And he kept that promise. Every night for the rest of our lives, I fell asleep in the arms of a man who'd seen me at my most broken and decided I was worth keeping, who'd claimed another man's child as his own without hesitation, who'd built a fortress around our family and dared the world to threaten it. Some would call it a cage. I called it home. And in the end, that made all the difference.